first thing I noticed when I woke up was the silence. Not the kind of silence that comes with an empty house or a quiet night, but the kind that feels alive, heavy, like it's pressing down on you, waiting to break. My bedroom was dark, the kind of dark that makes you question whether your eyes are even open. I reached for my phone on the nightstand, but it wasn't there. The clock on the wall had stopped, its hands frozen at 3:17 a.m. I sat up, my heart pounding, and that's when I heard it. A faint, rhythmic tapping coming from the corner of the room. Tap, tap, tap. It wasn't loud, but it was deliberate, like someone or something was trying to get my attention. I squinted into the darkness, my breath shallow, and that's when I saw it. A shadow, darker than the rest of the room, shifting unnaturally, as if it were alive. My throat tightened, and I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. The tapping grew louder, more insistent, and then it stopped. The shadow moved, slithering across the wall toward me, and I realized with a cold, sinking dread that it wasn't just a shadow. It had eyes, and it was smiling. I scrambled out of bed, my legs tangling in the sheets, and bolted for the door. The hallway outside was just as dark, but the air felt different, thicker, colder. I could hear the shadow behind me, a low, guttural sound that wasn't quite a laugh, but wasn't quite human either. I ran, my bare feet slapping against the wooden floor, but no matter how fast I moved, the sound stayed close, always just behind me. I reached the stairs and nearly tripped in my haste to get down them. The living room was bathed in an eerie, pale light that seemed to come from nowhere, casting long, twisted shadows across the walls. The furniture looked wrong, distorted, as if it had been stretched and warped. And then I saw it. The source of the light. A door. It wasn't there before, I was sure of it. But now it stood in the middle of the room, tall and narrow, its surface covered in intricate carvings that seemed to shift and writhe when I looked at them. The air around it hummed with a low, resonant frequency that made my teeth ache. I wanted to turn away, to run, but something about the door pulled at me, a strange, irresistible compulsion. The shadow was still behind me, its presence pressing against my back, and I knew I had no choice. I reached for the door, my hand trembling, and as my fingers brushed against the cold, metallic handle, the world around me dissolved into chaos. The next thing I knew, I was standing in a place that shouldn't exist. The sky above was a swirling mass of colors that hurt to look at, and the ground beneath my feet was soft, almost spongy, like walking on flesh. Strange twisted shapes loomed in the distance, their forms impossible to comprehend, and the air, it was filled with a sound, a low, mournful wail that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. I turned, hoping to find the door, but it was gone. In its place was a figure, tall and thin, its body made of the same shifting shadows I had seen in my room. It tilted its head, those glowing eyes fixed on me, and then it spoke. Its voice was a cacophony of sounds, like 100 voices speaking at once, each one layered over the other in a way that made my head spin. "You shouldn't have come here," it said. And then it reached for me. I woke up screaming, drenched in sweat, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. My room was just as I had left it, the clock still frozen at 3:17 a.m. But as I sat there, trying to calm myself, I noticed something on the floor near the corner of the room. A single black feather, its edges shimmering with an unnatural light. I picked it up, my hands shaking, and that's when I felt it. A faint, rhythmic tapping coming from the wall behind me. Tap, tap, tap. The door was back, and this time, it was open.